So the chances are, if you are watching this, you are either planning on going on a hike or specifically on the West Highland Way. I got back from the West Highland Way about a week ago, so I figured I'd go through my gear list and explain it to you. First and foremost, the backpack. This is my go-to backpack. It's a low alpine Dieren, I think 55-65. Yes, it's a 55-65, and I really like it. Not just because it's quite big on the inside, you have quite a lot of space, but you also have a lot of straps on the outside. I know some people don't like it. I very much do, because you can always hang things on the outside if you need to. It is made up of two parts. So you have the bottom part, which is always my sleeping setup, and the top part, which is basically a big open space. You have the side pockets up here and up here, and some lovely hooks for carabiner hooks, or spaces for carabiner hooks, to which I attach my camera. Side you have a little mesh pocket and a closed zip pocket, and two different pockets on top, one on top and one on top on the inside. So yes, this is my go-to backpack, and it is very nice. It isn't super light, but it is very very convenient, and it doesn't feel like you're carrying much weight, even if it's fully packed. Next, shoes. Important for the West Highland Way and any hike in general, but West Highland Way especially. It's a very wet route, especially in March, April. You're going to get wet feet if you don't have Gore-Tex shoes or fully waterproof shoes. So even if you have Gore-Tex, I would really recommend impregnating, I'm not sure if that's the right word, to put the stuff on to make it waterproof. I will put the word that I mean on screen. I would recommend taking hiking poles. If you are carrying all of your equipment, your bag does get obviously quite heavy. So hiking poles will really save your knees and your hips, and they'll also keep the rhythm up when you walk. So they're quite nice. These are Alpine Locker, I think, and they're the Carbon Pro series. Not very expensive, but very much recommendable. They've also been on a lot of different hikes, also in Norway, Albania, Montenegro, Kosovo. They have not let me down, and I think they were less than 50 euros. I took a lot of camera gear. I took a camera with a camera bag. So the camera I was using was the Sony Alpha 7 series with a Sony lens. This is a Sony 24-240 3.5. There we go, 3.5. And I took 3 different batteries and a charger, plus a Gorilla Pod. The actual essential gear, my water system. So rather than taking a whole water filter and water tablets, well, I actually did take water tablets, I took a Camelback with a life straw. It's just a setup you buy like this. It's not like you make it yourself. Very useful because you can just drink from every stream or lock, and this part, the white part, filters all the bacteria, the black part filters a bit of the odor and taste. And yeah, I think Scotland is pretty safe to drink just naturally from the streams. I did encounter someone who got severe water poisoning and had diarrhea the entire way, so I would recommend just be safe, better safe than sorry. So yeah, this is what I took. I also took a thermos flask. This is a Stanley. I can really recommend Stanley. It's not sponsored, but definitely recommendable. If I boil water in the morning, I have hot water at night. So because I was eating dehydrated meals, I only had to boil water and take out my cooking system once a day. So it was great, because then in the morning you just boil it. In the evening you still have probably around 80-85 degrees Celsius water. Stanley, good brand. This one is my equivalent of a chair. I saw some people hiking with a chair. Don't take a chair, it's very heavy. This is a butt pad. They are very simple, very lightweight. Essentially what they do is they keep your butt dry and warm. So you just unfold it like this. The nice thing is if it gets dirty on the bottom, you fold the dirt into itself, so your pack actually stays clean. And yeah, it's super lightweight. They're like 5-6 euros. So essentially nothing for a dry butt for 2 weeks. Speaking of comfort, so I did not take any other shoes other than my hiking shoes and my Nordisk down booties. So these are my tent shoes, my campsite-ish shoes. Obviously not for the mud, but they are just super nice because they're very warm. Definitely recommendable. They're also pretty cheap. They are essentially the best thing money can buy. These have also been on a lot of different trips, including the Norwegian snowstorm, which I was in with these things, and they are very nice. So if you have 35 euros to spare, I think it was something like that, buy them. They're great. Then, let's see. This isn't really my gear. This is my toiletry bag. So there's not really much I needed to take. I wear lenses, so there's some lens fluid in there, some deodorant, some toothpaste, toothbrush, stuff like that. Glasses, take some glasses, always useful, especially if you need to evacuate your tent because there's a cow standing on it in the morning, which happened in the Highlands, which was quite an experience. But yeah, so obviously I also take glasses. Here's my medical kit. I made a different video. I will link it somewhere here, I think here, maybe here. But yes, this is essentially everything that's in there. It's quite lightweight. I think the heaviest thing is probably the deep heat. I took a knife. Some people do not hike with a knife. I do. I always have it strapped to my chest, actually on my right side. But yeah, a couple reasons for it. One, to kill all the bears. No, for food. When I'm eating dehydrated meals from a bag, I always just cut the bag through the middle, so I don't have to dig all the way deep down in there. You can also have a longer spoon, but you know, I just prefer to cut the bag through the middle and then have like a little bowl of a bag rather than an actual deep bag. I also use it, I like this one, and it's a bit oversized, bit heavy, bit bulky, but I like it because I use it to split wood as well when I'm making a fire. Put it on a log, take another log, slap the front of it, and yeah, it's great. Another light, I took a head torch from Black Diamond. This is my head torch. A little microfiber towel. Cooking system. I went way overkill. This is probably the biggest cooking system anyone has ever taken on the West Highland Way. The reason for it, I had the space, you know, and the weight didn't really matter too much. So obviously there is a little lighter, always useful. This is my bowl and mug. So these are from Sea to Summit, the X mug and the X bowl. Yeah, very convenient, very nice. They're not the lightest, I think, that I've ever had, but they're just very comfortable and very easy. A pot with a pan, or a pot with a lid / pan. Fork, spoon, knife set, also useful. A little clamp to pick up the pan. This is my burner stove, the beast that is way of an overkill on this trip. This is my Primus Omni Fuel 2. This is probably the biggest, bulkiest, most intensely overweight, but very trustworthy burner you can take. Essentially, why I really like it is if you go to a country and you're not sure if they have camping gas or if you can find camping gas, you can attach a bottle with petrol, with gasoline, with diesel, with turpentine, with whatever. So these are just fantastic. They are also essentially fully windproof. I've used it in 60-70 km/h winds, and it stays on and it sounds like a jet engine. So could I have gone much lighter? Yes, 100%. I didn't because, well, I had it with me. Then another thing before I get to the sleeping setup is my emergency kit. What I took for this trip, which I'm very thankful for, very grateful that I actually took, some extra guidelines for my tent. These little ropes, these are 4, all stuck together. There was one night where I ended up in a windstorm of about 75 km/h, just beneath the ridge line of behind Devil's Staircase, which is part of the West Highland Way Trail. And I'm very happy I took these because I could, yeah, anchor down my tent a bit more with a couple more spots. Then next I have a, what you call it, nail clipper with a nail file. I really recommend hiking with these things. You know, ultralight people or ultralight hikers will not take them, but they're always useful if your toenails or fingernails grow a bit too long. You can just file them off because there's nothing worse than hiking with painful nails. This, so I took, I guess, 3 different ways to start a fire. One was the normal lighter you just saw with my cooking kit. This one is essentially also similar to normal lighter, which you spark and let me see, obviously, there we go, fire. Fire. It essentially has some gas in here or some fuel in here, and you can sparkle on there. Nice thing about this one is when the fuel finishes, which will inevitably happen, the spark still works perfectly fine, even in wet conditions. So that's perfect. And then my other way to start a fire is just a normal flint and steel. So this one you obviously just hold here, and then you can make sparks. So those are my 3 different ways of making fire. In this little emergency kit, I also have a Knitting set. Ha! A knitting set. Wow, okay. A pen, always useful. Weighs next to nothing, but always useful. Then we also have some hand sanitizer, because obviously I don't carry soap around. So hand sanitizer, which is also very useful. If you need to start a fire with very wet wood, then hand sanitizer works well because you can use it as a fire starter. And some lip labello or lip balm. Yeah, that works well. These things I will not take out because, well, I may as well actually. They're just water tablets, water filter tablets. 1 tablet for 1 liter. You let it sit for half an hour and you're perfectly fine. You can drink it. Sure, it tastes like you're drinking a swimming pool, but at least you won't die. Hey. All right, then we get to the sleeping setup and everything that revolves around sleeping. So first and foremost, I took my MSR Access 3 tent. It's a pretty lightweight tent. It's less than 2 kilos. It's 1.9 something, and it is lovely. It is, it's oversized. Sure, it's a 3-person tent, and I was alone. Haha. The nice thing about a 3-person tent, especially in Scotland at the time of year that I was hiking, it's a very wet time of year. So if you basically get rained in and you just don't want to leave the tent, you have enough space in the tent to, you know, spread out and do everything. That being said, because it's such a lightweight tent, it's also, yeah. This tent is only a couple 100 grams heavier than a 2-person or 1-person tent I have. So I took this. Another thing, it's a 4 seasons tent. As I said, I did wake up one morning and it was -7. So it was very cold. So I was very happy I took this one. And this is very wind proof. Like I said, I was in a 75 or 70 kilometer windstorm. And the nice thing about this tent is the way the poles are built, like the material is made out of. Once there's a really strong gust or consistent wind, it collapses. And once the wind reduces, it just pops right back up rather than having your tent poles crack. So yes, it's fully windproof, waterproof, obviously. 4 seasons, great in all conditions. It's roomy. So I really like it. I would strongly recommend it. It is very expensive, so that is the only downside. But again, if you camp a lot, then it's definitely worth it. Because it is just above €1,000, I believe. It's a very expensive tent. Always use a footprint. You obviously don't need to have an MSR footprint. I just figured if I buy an expensive tent, I may as well buy the right footprint for it. But always use a footprint, even if you use a slightly cheaper tent. Just because it will prevent abrasions from getting into the tent flooring. Because I'm in the winter, it was winter time, I took my Thermarest Neo X Therm Vapor Max Vapor Large. Wow, whole mouth, whole sentence full of sleeping pad. Ding ding. The nice thing about this one is it has a pump sack. So essentially what a pump sack is it prevents you from having to blow it up by mouth, because what you do notice a bit, not extreme, but a bit with colder conditions, if you blow up a sleeping pad just by mouth, then the water vapor from your breath will freeze on the inside of the sleeping pad and it will actually reduce the insulation a bit. So I would recommend to always use a pump sack, especially in cold conditions. I took this is a Sea to Summit liner, essentially for your sleeping bag. I took a Thermolite Reactor Extreme. So this is, I think, one of their warmest ones. Essentially what it does, you lie in the sleeping liner, you lie in the sleeping bag liner, and then you go into the sleeping bag. Ta-da! It's not actually this big. Just because it's down, you obviously have to pack it away. Where it's allowed to loft, where it's able to loft. So in reality, it's in this bag, and then it's probably around here. So this is the size of the sleeping bag, obviously, if it were to be full. So it's actually a very compact sleeping bag, and it is super warm and super fluffy. So yes, I'm not going to take it out fully, but I will put the name here. The Lifesaver. Now this is my, what is it, 30,000? Yeah, my 30,000 milliampere battery pack. It's a huge block of electricity. It's amazing. Now this is essentially what I took and I had to charge it once in 2 weeks. The nice thing about this one is, although the solar panel doesn't work fully, it's not great, it will save you if you really need to. So you have essentially 4 USBs and a wireless charger. So it's great. It's been on 100 different trips with me. Strongly recommended. It is just a lovely battery pack with a light. That being said, goodbye. Goodbye. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it is of use to you. Good luck planning your next trip, and